In this video, we're talking about what all the great players have, they don't talk about, teachers don't talk about, but you should be looking into as you try to better your golf game. Hey everybody, Scott Hogan coming at you here. We are here in my training facility, getting nice outside in Chicago, so we're excited about that. But before we do, make sure you go ahead and click the subscribe button down below if you're not already a subscriber. We got a lot of videos coming up, gonna be outside filming, so make sure you don't miss any of those. And also, if you have any questions, anything you want discussed, you need help with a certain shot, especially if it's an outdoor shot, like a short game shot, let me know, comment down below. We'd love to answer those for you and help you out with your golf game this summer, all right? So we're gonna go into a topic today that, again, I hear it talked about even in teaching circles. It's you're not supposed to do this. It's it's the hands, right? And we're just coming off of an exciting Masters victory with Tiger. He hit the ball phenomenal. At the end of the day, he started saying he flushed all his shots. And I think you could see this coming because actually, his last couple majors, right? He went second, and then first here. You saw also at the Dell Technologies match play, he started playing better too. Or not the match play, the Dell Technologies Championship, he started playing better. And he had a quote that we're gonna play for you about his golf swing and using his hands. So let me show you what he said there.
No, I trust my hands, and I always have. My hands have always been, the thing that I've always trusted the most, and that stems from baseball. Playing so much baseball, your hands are everything. And obviously your body follows, but you do everything with your hands. So I've been one have I worked on different body parts and different positions in the golf swing? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's about what my hands are doing.
And so when he starts talking about his hands, he says he trusts his hands. I think that's something that a lot of people fall victim to. There's this notion that you have to get your hands out of your golf swing. You have to get them out. They can't be a part of it. And Tiger just said right there, arguably the greatest of all time, with 81 wins and some of the greatest pressure shots. He was under a ton of pressure at the end of that tournament, and he flushed the ball all over the place. So this idea that your hands aren't gonna hold up under pressure, he just put that to bed and said they can. You just have to trust them, and you have to know that they have to know what they're supposed to do. Where you have another player that gets talked about having great hands, and he's got a very handsy swing, and people will say it almost to a fault for him, is Phil Mickelson. Yet he's got 40-something wins. He's the top 5 player of all time, most likely. These guys trust their hands to no end. So that's something we want to think about in our golf swing. And I know in my own swing, how my hands go is where everything else goes. So you've heard us talk a lot about that, your arms and your hands and what they do. So what does it mean to train your hands when you go through a swing? Well, it means a couple of things. One, what's the role of your hands? Well, your hands are gonna be kind of the last point. They kind of anchor to the golf club here, and it's the point where this golf club is going to essentially pivot, right? So we're gonna be getting this pivoting motion through our swing, okay? And we do that with the left too. You're gonna see that with the left. Now, we do want a couple of things to happen. One, we would like for the golf club to be able to strike the ball first. We'd also like for it to strike, with somewhat of a de-lofted club face. Not ton, we don't want a ton of de-loft, but a little bit's nice. Okay, that does help you send the ball out a little bit, drive it a little bit. And so we have to think about, what do we want our hands to do? Well, the first thing is, when we come in, we want this lead hand to definitely be in what we would call a flexed position. So flexed meaning this way. As we come through, we want it flexed and then continuing on. Well, how are we gonna make that happen? Well, we have to get this feeling of the flex throughout the entire downswing. So I don't want you to take your hands out. I want you to see what allows you to do that. Well, if I'm going to do this, what I'm gonna see is my hand and my arm and my forearm are gonna have to rotate. So if I was to come all the way through with no club, you're gonna see my left hand is almost gonna be, if I'm making like a cupping motion or a flex motion back at me with my fingers, they're gonna point right back at me. And if I take that into my swing, it's gonna feel something like this, okay? And when we do that, you can see now I've got that club really leaning and getting ahead. Now it's a little exaggerated for the purposes of this video, but you're gonna see that you're gonna be able to get that nice hands forward look in your swing. But again, you're not holding off your hands. You're not taking your hands out. I see this all the time. Oh, I was just trying to keep my hands out of it, turn my body. What I'm actually doing is I'm actually doing something with my hands. I'm flexing it and rotating it. That's the key that's gonna get you to where you wanna go. Now, what's the right hand do in all of this? Well, if my left hand's doing this, my right hand coming through is gonna come through. You know, it's gonna look something like this where we're actually gonna have our wrist be extended. You know, it's gonna be bent back as we go through, and then it's gonna rotate through as well. So it's just like if you were going to high five the wall in front of you or somebody in front of you, that's gonna be the feel that you would take in to your finish, okay? That way we can, again, get to a very good impact and then be able to finish the golf club. You're not flipping the golf club. Your hands are very active, but they're not flipping the golf club. They're doing what they're meant to do. They're also doing what's anatomically meant for your body, so you don't have any issues. So that's the first thing that your hands are gonna do. Now, the second thing then is we wanna pay attention not only to the angle that you have the golf club leaning forward, we do wanna pay attention to the rotation of the face. And this is a huge deal as we hit shots. So what we like to do is see the face get squared up, obviously, as best we can. But when we get into pressure situations, we have to be able to understand where we wanna miss. And our hands, ultimately, again, because they're connected to the club, they control the face, which has a huge influence on where the ball is gonna end up. You gotta have some feeling of what makes the ball go which direction. How do I rotate it too much? And for me, pull the ball, or how do I under-rotate it and push it? Great example is gonna be on number 12 at Augusta this year, where Tiger said, you know, he'd just seen Molinari go in the water. He saw guys in the group in front go in the water. I think that was Brooks and Finau. They went in the water, not Finau. Brooks and Poulter went in the water. And then Molinari goes in the water. Tiger comes up and says, I'm going over the bunker. And in an interview with Joe LaCava, he said Tiger missed it probably about 10 feet left of his intended target. And what that tells you is Tiger knew anywhere right going to that pin with that wind, you're gonna come up short, it's gonna hit the hill. If you go left, the way that green is angled, he's hitting it longer, he's at least dry. Maybe he flies the green a little, but he left himself a little bit of room, but at least he's dry. You know, he's got a chance to make par, most likely bogey's the worst he does, he's not making double. And so when he had this idea of training his hands, he knew in his mind what he wanted to do, and his hands were there to help him. So how do we train that? Well, it's very simple. All we're gonna do is hit a few shots, and I'm gonna work on, with our feel, really trying to over-rotate one and pull one, okay? That one definitely went left. We're gonna see it speed lower, a little farther. We're gonna be going a little bit under-rotated now. And leave one out to the right. Took off a little higher, a little shorter. Now I'm understanding what goes on. And then we're gonna go right in the middle. So we call this the Goldilocks drill because it's a little too hot, a little too cold, then just right. Great way to practice and start getting some feels as you go. And then I'm gonna try to go right down Broadway if I can. And yeah, not as far as the pole, but pretty good. Took off about normal launch, and then we just keep working from there. So getting a feel for hitting some of those shots. How you can really do that is work on some draws and fades. You can also see that. We'll have another video about how to draw, how to fade the ball, but that's something you can do to start feeling how your hands are gonna work in your golf swing. So again, our goal with this video is to try to show you, like, I have this conversation all the time. I had it yesterday in a lesson. A student came in and they said, oh, you know, my hands, they're way too active. You know, because he's got the flip position at the bottom. He's like, my body's not doing enough. And we actually fixed it because we got his hands more active earlier. You know, he was trying so hard to hold it off, and then they would just have to flip. Your hands are gonna say at some point, I've gotta help out, you're never gonna hit the ball. So that's when you start getting these weird looking motions with flips. But if you're doing it correctly, you start understanding how to train your hands, okay, and then work on the face control. I think you'll be surprised at what happens, how everything kind of works out. My body can rotate. All of those things happen really nicely with just the thought of having correct hands that know what to do. So hopefully this helps you clear up some misconceptions about the swing, some ideas that maybe you thought you weren't supposed to do. I know it's a little bit backwards from what you hear currently, but it has some great results. It also teaches your hands for short game, your hands for putting, all of those good things. So it really can help your game across the board. So thanks everybody for watching this video. Again, if you're not a subscriber, please make sure you click that subscriber button down below so you don't miss any future videos. And leave some comments down below. What do you think? Even if you think this isn't what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to take your hands out. I'd love to hear why, and we could have some good discussion about it. I'd love to be able to talk about it more and be able to share my thoughts further with it. So thanks again everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.